I want to go to the next story. Sure. I'm going to go to the next story. So Trump preparing to majorly revamp Department of Education as math reading scores show stunning lows. Rob, if you got a clip on that, go for it. I'll read this. Tom, I'm coming to you first on this one. No need for the eyes. I'm just saying, look, I'm going to come to you. So, all right. So, President Trump is preparing major overhaul of the Department of Education after math and reading scores alarming lows with 40% of the fourth graders, 33% of eighth graders. Readings below basic level, only 28% of eighth graders proficient in math. That is insane.
Say that again.
Only 28% of eighth graders are proficient in math, according to the National Assessment of Education Progress. Jeez. Moms for Liberty co-founder Tiffany Justice told Fox and Friends that Trump met with governors who were not only furious about academic failures, but also about the toxic soup of SEL, DEI, CRT being pushed in schools. Refreshing to see social and economic learning being pushed in schools. Justice claimed governors urged Trump to give states more power, telling them parents want more choice. Let's help parents to put them in driver's seat so they can make the best decisions for their kids. Go ahead, Rob.
Why nominate Linda McMahon to be the Education Department Secretary if you're going to get rid of the education?
Because I told Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job. I want her to put herself out of a job, education department. So we're ranked number 40 out of 40 schools, right? We're ranked number 1 in cost per pupil. So we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. And we're ranked at the bottom of the list. We're ranked very badly. And what I want to do is let the states run schools. I believe strongly in school choice. But in addition to that, I want the states to run schools. And I want Linda to put herself out of a job.
Do you think that's something you can do with an executive order, or are you going to ask Congress to do it?
I'd like to be able to. Look, if I could give the schools back to Iowa and Idaho and Indiana and all these places that run properly, there's many of them. I think. So if you look at the list, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, believe it or not, China's doing very well on that list, a list of well-educated, where they run their school system well. You have a lot of countries, not surprising names. I think that if you moved our schools into some of these states that are really well-run states, they would be as good as Denmark and Norway and Sweden and some of the other states. And then you'd have the laggards, and you know who they are. I don't have to go to it. But you'd have the laggards, the same laggards that are laggards with everything else, including crime.
Tom.
But even them,
thoughts?
The Department of Education is a national bureaucracy that attempted to make an average size shirt and send it, and it doesn't fit anybody. What they have done, there were some well-intended things on national test standards and stuff, but they're absolutely correct. This bloated bureaucracy has got all this money, and you're telling me that Mississippi has got the same challenges that Connecticut does? They don't. And so the national body is actually 2 steps away, with governors of those 2 states saying, hey, I've got different problems that I have here with single-parent households and things in Mississippi that have been going on generations. I need to do this, and this is what I need to help these students in Mississippi. And it's bad here and here. Massachusetts says, well, Connecticut says, well, my problems are a little bit different. I got this going on and that going on. I actually got pretty good math and English scores, but I've got these other things going on in the schools here. There are regional issues that go on that this is why we have governors. The reason the president doesn't, run the entire country without governors is because each state needs its leadership to act local. So you can think global, act local. So, but the Department of Education has presided over this. I mean, by definition, just look at the test scores. Look at what he said about international. Okay, who's been in charge? Department of Education. Okay, inherently, you're fired. You're done, and we're going to do something else with the money, and we're going to move it around.
Here's what Rokana said about it. He's got a completely different perspective. Go ahead.
ABC News is reporting that President Trump plans to eliminate the Department of Education with an executive order. This is an assault on every young American who went to public school like me. This is an assault on every American family who has someone who is disabled and needs the IDEA program to provide education.
Chris, your thoughts on this?
You can't spend your way out of the problem. And it is a great, if misleading, statistic that we pay the most and we get the least. There are a lot of problems with the cost structure, and that is also state by state.
What do you mean misleading?
It's misleading in that the reason it is expensive is because what goes into government funding in the first place. If you look at the funding, it's not that the kid gets $9,000 a year. It's that the system of what the unions have to, what the unions get out of it, and what all the staffing is, and the transportation, and the physical plants. There's all this other stuff that goes in it that's all very expensive in America. So that's not why you're failing. Why you're failing is very complicated. Getting rid of the DOE isn't going to necessarily automatically make things better because the states will have more control. Milton Friedman was very good on this. Get rid of the Department of Education. He would say yes, but then when you asked him for the rationale, he would wind up really just, it's about scaling. And again, these are political choices. Can Trump do it alone? No, that's easy. That's Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. If Congress funds it, Congress controls its existence. So you need Congress to get rid of a government agency.
What percentage? What percentage vote do you need to get rid of it?
Oh, just like any other law. You don't need a supermajority or anything like that. But you need a congressional act. But that's not the point. He doesn't have to get rid of it to gut it.
So he could get rid of it.
He could scale it down,
right?
But he cannot eliminate an agency. And that's okay, because that's not really the debate we're having. That's the debate they'll make. That's what Roe is doing, whom I also think is a fair broker, and I love having him on my show. But it's not about him overtaking constitutional power. That's not where we are. It's about how do you do this better? And everybody knows, look, I'll tell you what a taxpayer wouldn't argue with, okay? I'm going to raise your taxes, and we're going to have kids in school longer than anybody else in the world. And we're going to have the school day longer. We're going to feed them differently. We're going to educate them. We're going to exercise them. And we're going to do all these things that aren't getting done by families in this country anymore. I don't think taxpayers would have the same kind of problem that they do right now, because it's about the return on investment. All these kids are failing in the schools. Why? Because the standards have sunk. They're dealing with all these things that aren't education related. And there is no real incentive to succeed for any of these places. Nobody gets punished if their kids don't do well.
That's the budget right now. K through 12, $612.7 billion annually, about $12,612 per kid. Federal, state, and local governments spend about $720 billion annually, which makes it $14.8. Federal government provides 7.7% of funding. State provides 46.7%, and local governments provide 45.6%. Right.
This is of the funding. Now, you want to talk about, that's the funding. Now, let's talk about the influence and CRT and DEI and the SEL and the things that are going in there that the government is invoking. So the government's, if you take a look at the influence and control, it's not 7.7%. It's greater than that. And I think that what Ro Khanna is doing is he's standing up there, and it's a little bit of grandstanding. He was just here, respect him, thank you for being here. But to stand up there and saying, this is terrible, this is public. I was a public school kid. And what he's saying now, he picks out a program that is doing some good, IDEA, and says, without IDEA, then these kids, that's a very populist thing you can say. Okay, Ro, but now let's go back to it and let's look at all the other things that aren't working. And we want to release the states to not be under the thumb of the DEA. The DEA, they need that.
The DOE.
The schools actually need DEA, unfortunately, the DOE. And so to give the local, magistrators, and the governors and the mayors and everything to do it. And what that's going to do is that's going to force the states to come head to head with the unions in their state, and things like LAUSD, which is the largest school district in the United States, Los Angeles, and by its own admission and the admission of people that have been there on city council, probably the poorest run school district in the United States. So, okay, now let's move all this down local and let's see if we can get some change out of it. It's not just about setting standards, it's then dealing with all the issues. And rather than IDEA coming from the federal government, Ro, we don't want it to go away. Something's going to have to replace the programs that are good, but let the state do it. They're at 93% of the total spend, 46 from the state and 44 from the local, right?
Right.
But take that the 7-point set, you can keep. Let's do something else with the money, but let's not have the government with the huge.
It's not a lot of money. Just take it. It's not to take the 7.7
It's not
out.
the money. It's the control.
I totally get that. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying.
So you can do it without getting rid of the DOE. You can keep the parts that work, and you get rid of the parts that don't. And these are political judgments. The president can do a lot of it on his own. If he can't, then he turns to his party and says, "This is what I want."
And you're going to find unions that are screaming at senators
for
who
the
are
future
screaming.
if they get rid of it. I think DOE getting rid of DOE would be massive.
I don't think they're
for-
going to get rid of the entire agency, but again, you don't have to make the kinds of changes that are being
But you
discussed.
almost have to for the next administration to come in. You need to show the example of. If you don't, the next guy can come in and say no. Let's impose DEI. Let's bring back all the mindsets that we had before. Let's bring that back again.
Yeah.
Somebody can bring that back. It's been proven it didn't work. Adam, your thoughts on this?
Would you agree that there needs to be a dramatic change here? It's not like these are small numbers. Alarming lows. 40% of fourth graders, that's not 4%. 40% of fourth graders and 33% of eighth graders below basic levels. Basic levels.
Yeah.
Almost half below.
You don't.
So I posted this the other day because I want to give a shout out to, hopefully the Eagles can beat the Chiefs this week. Do you remember when the mayor came out last week and she was like basically saying, "Let's go Eagles, E-L-G."
No, she didn't.
Watch this.
Yeah, she
Let
did.
me hear you all say E-L-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
She did.
Wow.
Yeah, there she goes right there.
Do you think she
So
can't
this is
spell Eagles?
I'm just saying it's
Do you
anecdotal.
think she can't spell? It's not anecdotal. It's
I mean,
bullshit.
she did.
But then,
spell it.
but you know what? Before I posted that ridiculousness, I said, let me actually find out what the hell's going on.
How to spell Eagles?
in Philly.
PBD Podcast.
According to 2022 National Assessment of Education Progress, the nation's report card, Philadelphia's fourth grade students had an average reading score of 195. That's below the average of large cities. Only 13% of Philadelphia's fourth graders was considered proficient in reading, well below the 40% that we talked about over there. Adult literacy is pressing concern in Philadelphia. Approximately 52% of adults in the city are functionally illiterate, meaning they struggle with basic reading.
Sorry,
That's
Rob.
adults, 52%.
Yeah.
These statistics highlight the urgent need for comprehensive educational reform and literacy programs.
Rob reads
Let's
gooder
go
than you.
EGLSES.
Rob reads
I
gooder
know
than
that's
you.
anecdotal.
This is not-
I know that's anecdotal.
This is not
But the
new.
numbers don't lie.
This is not new.
Tom says it all the time. Words talk, numbers scream. We got some dumbass people in this country.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, you do.
it's not a Democratic thing or Republican
No,
thing.
it is not.
Because if you look at what states are doing
They
well and
both
what
take
states are not
advantage
doing
of it.
well, they all stupid is and stupid does.
Yeah, but this has existed for a long time. And we have a culture of accommodation, not of excellence. One of the reasons you guys have been able to distinguish yourselves is that Pat is so results focused and oriented. You do not have that in our culture in a lot of places, specifically within our systems. You don't have it. You don't have it in our government. You don't have it in our education system.
Vivek, could you unpack that for me a little more?
Look, I mean, I don't think these are new arguments. The question gets into, well, how do you change it? And the biggest thing in politics that people don't want to touch, you will not hear, whether it's Trump, I don't care who the politician is. No one's going to say, you know, Pat, your kids aren't doing well. You're not getting it done as a parent. How much phone time you letting them have? How much do you make your kid read every night? Well, I got to work. I got to do this. Life. No, I understand. But, you know, it's on you. Your kid is a reflection of your efforts. Well, you're not going to hear anybody say that.
Wow.
You're not going to hear anybody say that. Why? Because I'm not there. You're not voting for me now. So our politics is about giving somebody an excuse for their own behavior. And, you know, we spend too much money. If we spent less or we did it differently or the states had more control. If you don't raise your kids right, it doesn't matter what school they're going to. I've had my oldest kid went to what some think anecdotally, to your point, is the best high school in the country, okay? Trinity in New York City, private school. I'm telling you, as somebody who watched her go through that school from K to 12, okay? She's only going to do as well as we make her do.
Yep.
She was blessed with a good brain. What she's going to make of it is about what her mother insisted on every frickin' night. And in the fights that we had over this stupid thing. And the best thing a school has ever done for me was what my public school in Sag Harbor did, of Long Island, of making you not allowed to have this phone in school. My kid has changed academically because the environment has changed. She doesn't have to compete with her friends about this distraction machine. And that is something that a school can do. But otherwise, it's on parents. You know, we're trying to absent them from this. It's not fair.
We are on the same page on the responsibility where it's at.
I mean, look at your kids.
Yeah.
Look how you are with them. What do you think? It's just a coincidence? It's just genetics that they're doing what they're doing at this young age? You're making it happen for them.
And great point, Pat. Because I know you want to move on, Pat. This is one of our stories, but we don't have to get into it. Teens spend more than a quarter of their time at schools on their phones. A quarter.
I believe it.
Holy moly.
A quarter of the, what did it say? Teens spend what?
Teens spend, it's on miscellaneous. The first one,
Yeah.
teens spend more than a quarter of their time. So Seattle Children's Hospital tracking 115 students, 8 to 12. 25%, they spend 2 hours on their phones in a 6-hour day, 6.5-hour day.
Have you watched this generation watch a movie at home?
Oh, forget it. They're
They
on the
watch
phone
the movie and they're on the phone.
at the same time.
And if you say, do you not like the movie? Do you want me to pick another one up? Oh, no, I like this. Nothing's happening right now in the movie. I said, what are you talking about? The movie is happening.
plot.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
No, nothing's happening when something happens.
Yeah. It's too much.
I'm telling you, I know our parents were the same way with the TV, the boob tube. It's nothing like this. Nothing like this. And the research is all over the place, but we don't deal with it. Why? Because it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, we like to pick on Colorado, at least I do, because it's a big blue liberal state and a lot of things. But they just became the 20th state to put in cell phone restrictions at high school. Phone goes in a Faraday bag during class, and you have to be 100% paying attention. And, you know, it's a good thing.
No social media until 16. That should be the national law.
Well, what did DeSantis impose here? Was it 15
Australia
or 13?
was
Social
right.
media. Yeah.
Australia
What did
was right.
DeSantis impose here in Florida? Was
I
it
think it
13
is
or 15?
Whatever he did is good. I don't even know. I haven't heard of it.
Yeah.
But anything, I'm telling you, if I could go back in time and fight one fight and win, I would have never given my kids a smartphone.
What age did you give them a phone?
Whenever they wanted it. Whenever the
age?
other kids started getting it. And it got younger and younger with each
you
kid.
remember what age?
Bella didn't get it until she was 13 or something like that. Mario was probably then going to be like 12 because she had it. Cha-Cha was going to be like 11 because her friends
Wow.
And you lose because you're weak and you want it easy.
Anxious
and you want to
generation.
pick your fights.
But
And it's a mistake.
have you read Anxious Generation?
You're right.
Anxious Generation.
And the less and less
book.
I go on, you know, Pat was joking around with me when I came in saying, hey, you look good today. I'm telling you, I have made a conscious decision. Now, my timing's not great because social media is more relevant in our world than it ever has been in media. But I have made a conscious decision to not be on it as often. And I've seen the change in my search. My search thing is now dominated by car restorations and changing shoes on horses and dealing with problems with cows. I could be a farrier. I watch so many videos about how to deal with ulcers on cow hooves. Why? Because I am making a conscious effort. I'm doing homework all day for my shows.
You got
all
an
day.
exciting life, Cuomo.
But
watching
I'm
the
telling you,
cow
the
hoof
more
videos.
I disengage from what's happening on social media, the happier
Have you read
I become.
Anxious Generation?
You need to.
I have not read Anxious
You
amazing.
wouldn't be able to put it down.
Yeah, it's
You
a-
wouldn't be able to put it down.
Yeah.
By Jonathan Haidt. Phenomenal book. Guys, if you...
Oh,
you've
yes,
heard-
yes. I have this book. I have not read it. Somebody just sent it
You
to me.
will not be able to put it down. I don't know how many times we talk about this thing. It's a must-read for every parent to go through. The guy's got systems on how to deal with it, which I think it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating.
And you see parents adjusting these new groups. You probably see them here a lot in Florida. Remember when we used to have the girls wear the promise rings and I'm not gonna have sex until this age or whatever it was. There are kids now who are agreeing not until high school or something like that as middle schoolers where we're all going to stay with flip phones or we're all going to not have social media as a group, as a team until this age. And it's a great way to counter something that you cannot convince me is good for kids.
I absolutely love that idea. For President's Day, we have a limited edition merch that you can go order on vtmerch.com for President's Day. Bunch of cool stuff. This one right here, look, whatever you do, if you're not going to order anything, order this one.
That one
It
is
is
badass.
absolutely sick. This is an actual photo taken of Abraham Lincoln with the glasses when he said, "Future looks bright."
Yes.
And he said, by the way, one of the best things is he says, there was a tweet about Abraham Lincoln on Twitter. He says, don't believe everything on the internet, something like that. When I used to tweet back in the days, it's just funny. But anyways, hey, President's Day, we got Abraham Lincoln shirt. Future looks bright. It's sick. The quality is the best. Feel the quality, Chris, how sick this is.
The Abe Lincoln thing is
Chris,
great.
wake up.
Future looks bright. Let's go to the theater.
Future looks bright sweaters. We got a bunch of other gear here. Whatever you do, go to vtmerch.com. Place the order. You get a White House sticker and a Future Looks Bright sticker. I got my Future Looks Bright sticker and Valuetainment sticker on the back of my phone. And I think it's what's the number here?
I gave my inaugural shirt, the white one that I wore on the show. Yeah. I gave it to a very good friend of mine who loves you guys. And he gave me a great idea about Future Looks Bright.
What's that?
He says, you know what it is? He says, it's a secret test, Future Looks Bright. I was like, no, I don't think it is. I think Pat's just trying to be optimistic. He goes, exactly. If anybody looks at my shirt and says Future Looks Bright and has a problem with it, he goes, they're an Americant. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, that is true. What would be your problem with it? Future looks bright.
That's right.
Why don't you want the future to look bright?
And by the way, while you're saying...
I think he had an Ellsworth-Sosnick version of that.
He could have. But anyways, the future looks bright. We also have for President's Day, we have a 47% off for 47. Rob, if you want to go to that category as well, there's a bunch of things there.
Did I see that these shirts are only $18 now?
Yes.
Wow, that's a deal.
Yeah, for sure. So go to vtmerch.com, place your order, especially the Lincoln one, because that one is limited. It'll go very, very quickly. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.